On this episode of Two Dudes, One Cart, John and I sit down and discuss leveling up in your golf game, taking one stroke off at a time and accepting that sometimes when you're making a change, it's not always good for the first few weeks or even first few months. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode of Two Dudes, One Cart podcast. And as always, thank you for listening. Well, guess who's back in the house? It's the boys. Sitting here getting ready to discuss things going on, leveling up in golf, improving your game. It's been a heat wave and humid heat wave here in the Indianapolis area. I hope everybody's staying hydrated and getting out and enjoying the sunshine because who knows how long it's around anymore in the Midwest. John, how are you doing?
Hey, just glad to be in the AC.
Man, I'm gonna tell you what, that is an understatement. When you come off the course, you're on the turn and you walk into the clubhouse and hit that air conditioning, it makes you think, should I really go back out there?
Yeah, yeah.
That's another thing, man. We're golfers. We will think it's too hot to go out and mow the grass, but we will get 18 in.
Yeah, I mean, it's a real easy for me to wake up at 5 o'clock to go hit a 7 o'clock tea time. I don't like doing it for work, but the same goes with the weather. You power through it, struggle through it just to have a good time.
Yeah, it's good and it's bad. It's nice to have the sun out and get out and play and the grass growing and the greens nice and rolling and
Yeah,
man, woo, it's been biting, that's for sure.
yeah. I definitely have gone through some baby powder the past couple weeks.
So John, I thought we would talk a little bit about leveling up. What people can do, what you shouldn't do, what you should do, kind of the ins and the outs, dealing with the grind, um, things that you may have found that work, things that I've found that work. Um, so I thought I think the biggest thing in all of this is obviously get a coach,
Yeah,
make a plan. Um, yes, you could probably play and have Arcos or um, any of the other ones that are kind of tracking your shot by shot and know where your deficiencies are. But man, it's much easier to have somebody third party or whatever looking at your swing and
yeah.
giving you some things to adjust, don't you think?
Oh, 100%. I mean, keep it simple, stupid. It's like go get a lesson, maybe once a month or every 4 to 6 weeks. Be intentional about your practice. Practice a couple of times a week and then go out in the course and see what happens, then come back and go back at it again.
When you say that, be deliberate about your practice. Is there certain things that you're doing when you go out? What you're certain shots you're trying to hit? Or what's your process with that?
Yeah, I mean it varies, right, depending on the week. Because different things are going on, whether my driver's working, my irons are working, what isn't working, you know. Um, but instead of, there's times where if I'm just warming up, like if I go to the course, I'm just warming up, I'm gonna hit 15 to 20 balls and I just want to get this things loosened up. Right. But in the wintertime when I practice with purpose, I normally only take two, maybe three clubs. I'm making sure I'm lined up every time and just trying to hit a number and relatively close left or right of the distance of that object.
Now, are there any certain things you're visualizing? Like, for me, like if I'm practicing, say it's a Thursday and I know I'm going to be playing, I will say Yulin, whatever. I'll play Yulin
Yep.
on Sunday. I know that all right, I'm on the first tee. Let's take one, a little up the right, let it draw back to center, but I want to keep it in between these two flags or trees out in the range
Yeah.
of that distance. So I know I want to land it in that window. Are you doing things like that? Or are you
No,
just kind of looking at numbers and that's it?
number. I mean, I almost prefer hitting golf balls in a simulator so you can just set a target out there. I find it harder to focus outside unless they actually have true like greens.
Right.
You know, Ewan's got the one at 100, 150, 175, and 200. So, like, there it's like, all right, I know I'm pulling out my 54. I'm going to pull out my 9 iron and then I'm going to pull out, 5 iron. And those are the pretty much three targets that I go after. But on a regular range, if it's just flat, it's tough.
Right. Do you set anything, any kind of um a goal in mind, like, hey, before I leave here, if it now we're just saying if this is a practice session, not like
Yep.
before a round,
Yep.
do you say, hey, I want to put 2 out of 4 onto each green or anything of that nature? You're just hitting at them and that's it.
That's it. I keep it simple. I'll either have my training aid, that Tour Aim
Yep.
stick set up, and then it's just making sure my swing path feels good and I'm compressing the golf ball. That's pretty much all I really care about.
So
I
let's
don't track
say,
how many greens I hit or, whatever.
well, yeah, but I'm just saying, from a practice standpoint, sometimes you may just set a goal. Hey, I want to put 3 on the 150, 4 on the 75, something like
Yeah.
that to, kind of gamify your practice a little bit. And, I think that's great for some people. Some people it's not. I mean, you can be one of
Yeah.
those people it's not, but there's a lot of people that will benefit from gamifying whatever
Yeah.
it is they're doing.
Yeah. For a lot of people, just selecting a target instead of just smashing every club they have out there and hoping they know where it's going to go when they get on the range.
So what technique do you think is provided you with the most benefit when you're practicing? Let's say wedges. What have you done that you think helps you the most, or what? Maybe it's even a thought in your head, like, hey, I want to stand tall, grip close, toe up, whatever it is.
No, it's pretty simple. Make sure I have a decent grip and keep my right elbow in on the downswing. Not over swinging. That's
Is
it.
there any one thing? Is that the only thing that has kind of helped your chipping? Or is there anything you've done in practicing your
Hmm.
wedges that has proved that, beneficial for you?
Just feel like I'm straight arming it. That's about it, really. Not breaking my wrist too
Oh,
far
just
on the way back and flinging the wrist forward and getting wristy. So I just try to feel like it's a straight arm on the chips.
little DeChambeau or Steve
Yeah.
Stricker style chip. I
Yeah.
got you. If any of you don't know who either of those two guys are, feel free to look them up on YouTube. But Steve Stricker has been synonymous for just having his writ never cocking the wrist whatsoever. Just
Yeah.
back and through. Works well for him
Yep.
anyway. What about on your anything on your irons, or you just got the same thought process? Anything
Same
you've done in
same
practice?
process all the way through the bag. Unfortunately, it's pretty boring. I just
So
know when I start over swinging that my game's going to go to shit.
right. So how about what do you do with the tour aim? And if people don't know, the tour aim is basically we'll call it a flat board, and it's got angles in which you can stick the alignment rods in to come with it. It's a real good tool. I've got one. John's got one. Um, it's pretty nice to have out on the range, but you can look that up. But what do you specifically do with it that helps you out? And is there more than one use for you when using it?
I just use it so I swing underneath the plane, which helps me from coming over the top.
Right.
So if I most of my over the top comes from over swinging, and then I have to cast my arms out to try to catch up when I overswing. So just helps me keep my hands feel like my hands are low all the way through the ball.
Nice. Yeah, that's I like that. I like also having the alignment stick kind of vertical next to you, so you're not whipping your club way inside, kind of
Mhm.
bringing it up the stick, if you will. Um, might not work as well for you because I think you kind of bring it back. That's just kind of your swing.
Yep.
Um, I like using it just specifically like you said. You can set it up to where you have it where you enter and where you exit,
Yep.
to control the path and to help you with your releasing the club. Well, I mean that's still, that's still beneficial. That's still a lot of things that people could use. I know you don't like to get your mind too cluttered with anything other than I just need to hit the ball.
Hit the ball. Yeah. Yeah. Pretty, keep it simple. I mean, I think the alignment sticks help too, because I mean, we've all wondered if we were aimed in the wrong spot, you know. So at
Yep.
least if you have some type of alignment stick, or at least it's just another club where that you can line up your feet and your shoulders with, at least you know you're aiming correctly. Um, and that heck, that could be half of it, you know.
Yeah. Do you do anything with what's your process when you set up to hit a
That
wedge
normally,
shot?
yeah, yeah. Normally, I mean, on any shot, I try to stand behind the ball and visualize the path that the ball needs to go, and then I address it. You know, don't really take practice swings anymore with a driver and iron a lot now, especially once I get warmed up. I just kind of visualize the shot behind the standing behind the ball, and then go up there, get lined up, and a little soft breath and let her ride.
Now, do you even look or at the ball position whatsoever when you come up? Are you lining your left heel up and then you kind of opening your
I
stance
stand
up?
with my feet together in the middle of my stance, with the ball in the middle of my stance, and then I look at the target, and then depending on what club it is, right, I either take a larger step forward, or middle step forward, or small step forward, and then do the same with the back foot. But yeah, it's pretty consistent that way.
Well, then let's go through it here a little bit. So, what are you looking for on a driver?
Well,
Where are you
yeah,
setting your feet?
driver's about 2 inches inside my left heel. It's got to feel like that.
Okay.
Um, 7 irons, middle of the stance. Pitching wedge is slightly past middle, closer to my right foot. Um, unless I'm trying to play like a knockdown shot or whatever, then I'll swing it way back there. But yeah, almost everything, even my wedges, all the way up to like a 4 iron, are pretty much all just on center, or just maybe an inch off of center either way.
Yeah, I think that's huge, and a lot of that, so everybody knows a lot of that is you develop that by where you're getting your best contact. I know some
Yep.
people play their 4 iron, they play the ball up a little farther, maybe even with their hybrids. Some people play all their woods
Yep.
almost middle of the stance or pretty close.
Yep.
It's a lot of trial and error, but that's huge. I don't think
Yeah.
some people don't realize how huge that is because you can tee the ball up maybe towards your big toe and you're going to top the living hell out of it, or
Yeah, you could, and the type of shot you're trying to play, right? If I'm playing a fade, it's going to be slightly forward in my stance. I'm probably going to aim obviously a little left and probably flare my left foot open. If I'm playing a draw, it's going to be middle or just slightly behind middle. And then if those are just stock shots, I mean, you just got to figure out. Everybody has a different bottom of their part of their swing, so you just
hmm
got to figure out where the bottom is, and that's where you should probably play. In my opinion, majority of your shots are wherever bottom is.
So where do you let's the other thing I think's I mean, it's not a misconception, but I think that's missed is where do you or how do you set yourself up to know whether you're too close, too far away, but you're just right from the golf ball? Do you have a method of doing that?
Yeah, just let my hands fall down. Loose arm it when I take my stance. Just loose arm it wherever my hands fall down. That's it.
Yeah, so your arms are just straight down off your
Yep.
shoulders more or less, and you're
Yep.
you're a little bent over, obviously, for the golf swing. I think that's another big one that gets missed. We've all played with a guy that might be really bent over and his hands are way down. Toe of the club is pointing
Yeah.
direct north into the air, and you're like, "How's this guy get it?" And sometimes they play
Yep.
well.
Yep.
Some people have drastically wide stance or what you consider drastic on a lot of their clubs. And it's, it's different. There is a lot of,
Yeah.
individuality in the game of golf. That's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, you look at somebody in our friends group like Ty Kitt, his toes always up on all of his clubs,
Right.
right? He has his hands super low. And then you have opposite of like Kyle Thompson, where his toe is down all the time, right? And they both hit great shots, but that's what's comfortable for them. Where you and I would feel awkward if the toe was more than an eighth inch off the ground, So we're more
Right.
standard or neutral, I should say.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you ever feel like sometimes the just walking up to a shot and just going, "That's what I'm gonna hit," and you hit it.
Yeah.
How many times do you feel better that way than walking up to a shot and going, "Okay, I got a little wind behind me. I need to hit like a little right to left shot off this bunker." Which one works out more often?
I don't know. I'd say it's got to be close either way, 50-50. I mean, a lot of it just depends on the mood too when I'm playing, right? If I'm
Right.
vibing, I'm just walking up and hitting that thing. I mean, even like Sunday, I played like crap, but I mean, I was hitting the ball good, just it wasn't scoring. And I wasn't even using my rangefinder. I just look, I go, okay, 150 in the middle of the green. There's the 150 mark. All right, 9 iron did it. All right.
Right.
And just going at it because you can definitely get in your mind too much too if you start over analyzing every little thing.
Oh, definitely, definitely.
So,
I just found today I put myself in a couple positions at Broadmoor Country Club. Shout out to them. Every It was pristine, pristine conditions.
yeah.
Um, I just found today, man. I'd go up. I had really wasn't a wayward shot, just like a really bad hop off something. We assumed it was a sprinkler head, and it went left. And I was under trees, and I had this hallway of an opening, and I just grabbed my forehand and just punched it and flew right to where I was going. Bam. And
Yep.
did that on another hole. Had to hit a little cut through there. Bam, the same low shot. I'm like, I'm pretty sure if I think about that, it's not going to work out. And wouldn't you know, I had to
Yep.
do a little 9 iron chip under a tree, flubbed it because I started thinking about I'm going to shoot it right in here. It's going to land right here. It's going to hop up on the green,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. And so I just walked up, hit the next one, and almost hold it out. I mean, it's like,
Yeah. Of course. That's how it goes.
it's kind of like that saying. I normally don't hit my wedge 197, but when I'm greenside,
Yeah.
I can really hit it 197.
That's a fact.
What about in putting, John? You got anything you do that's, I wouldn't say a quirk, but something you do every time for your setup or maybe how you're reading a putt?
No. I, st- I normally only look on from behind the ball on putts. I would say 90% of the time, unless it's a crazy green with a ton of slope, I might go get 2 looks at it. But I kind of do the same setup as I do when I walk up to the golf ball with my feet together. And then I kind of set up on my line that I want and just try to feel like I'm going to keep my head down the entire way.
Yeah, I mean, I like to use the feet like the aim point setup just only when I have a certain amount of break, and especially when I think it's a double breaker, because then I
Yep.
want to know which break is greater than the other break.
Hmm.
Um, but I'll say this, I wouldn't say I found some things out. I already knew them. I just realized I wasn't doing them. And it may be helpful to somebody if you're in a putt, um, let's say you're on the fringe and you step just off the fringe and you notice it's a left to right break. But then when you go up towards the hole, you notice it's pretty much flat. Well, always remember this because I didn't remember it till after I missed, is that when you're getting ready to putt, you're going to pretty much take that break out of it that first few feet. Co- you know, Cost me a birdie, but I mean, it's just one of those things. It's even the same thing as figuring out how much to reduce a break on an uphill putt versus a downhill putt.
Yep.
Because even though uphill, you're going to putt it through the break a lot. it's still going to break some. Downhill, what people don't think about, unless you're really going to baby that, that's going to tell you how much break it's going to have. Because if not, if you're putting it towards the hole, you're taking break out of it anyway because you're going downhill. So you're adding speed either way.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think I think situational awareness is something I struggle with, or not thinking that portion through.
Yeah.
You know, and I think a lot of people do that because it's just you're up there to putt, you're like, okay, it's left to right, and then it's going to break back right to left, but you don't think about the fact that you're going to pretty much blow through most of that. And then
Yeah.
you got to remember that your ball's going to be slowing down at the hole, so that right to left needs to be a little bit less than the left to right that started the putt.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess we don't really have to worry too much in Indiana about grain, but grain can play a big factor too to take a look at. Are you into the grain, sideways, with the grain? And that'll help with obviously speed and braking because if you're hitting a brake against the grain, it's not going to break as much. But if you're with the grain, then it's going to break more.
Yeah, do you pay attention to any of that?
Not on most of my courses, no. But if
Right.
we're down on Bermuda, yeah,
Do you, if you have a putt that's say 12 feet that looks like it's breaking or might be double breaking, do you just still go by visual?
yeah,
That you think that you go by a one, two, three ball out type method?
yep, yeah. I just try to pick a spot, left or right of the cup that I want to aim to, and that's it.
Now, do you pick a intermediate spot that you can see when you're
Rarely,
getting ready to putt?
rarely. Probably should do it more often, but unless it's an obvious sign like a dimple or a dark spot on the green, I don't.
Yeah, that's I think that's everybody. You just need the target because you need a line to start it on.
Yeah, for sure.
As long as you know there's a spot right there or something like that. And because I mean, honestly, we all hit really good putts. They just don't all go in
Yeah.
because, is if you hit it's hard to explain that to somebody. I play with a younger guy, 15-year-old guy that plays for Center Grove today. And he's like, oh man, that was a horrible putt. And I said, well, did it go where you wanted to? He goes, yeah. And I go, so it was kind of a bad read. And he's like, well, yeah, I guess. And I go, if you hit a putt to a
Yep.
spot and and you just missed the putt, you did everything you could do. You just
Yep.
misread it. You still hit a good putt.
Yep.
And and he was like, "Oh," and I said, "Yeah, I mean, that's all you can do. You can't control the ground. You
Yeah.
can't control the grass. You may have misread it a little bit, but still you still did
Yep.
what you set out to do mentally."
100%.
Now, how about in the sand?
I don't like the sand.
Yeah, but what's your method in the sand? You have a certain
Get it
thing.
out of there as quick as possible.
Yeah, I know we both love to hate fairway bunkers.
Fairway bunkers are the
Greenside,
worst. Greenside
greenside.
bunkers
Yeah.
are a little bit easier. You just open up a 50. I sometimes use a 54, sometimes a 58. If it's real soft sand, I'll probably use a 54. If it's more hard compressed sand, I'll use my 58. And I still open them both up, choke down a little bit, squat, and just make sure I swing all the way through and don't just stab at it.
What's your What's your reasoning between the 54 and the 58 and soft stand?
I feel like if it's real soft sand, I use a 58. It catches too much of the face and slows the swing down. So 54, I feel like it gets through the sand a little easier.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah, I hit one. The sand was great at Broadmoor. Wasn't the sand. The sand was perfect there. I have just never I just caught one completely clean. It was just setting up a little bit on a part of a footprint.
Yeah,
And I was lazy. The USAM tour allows you to rake in place because a lot of people don't rake, and obviously somebody didn't.
yeah,
And I was lazy, didn't want to I already had the rake down there, but I didn't want to rake in place. And
yeah,
it clipped so clean and went so far.
yeah,
I mean, I just heard it go, it's like snap your fingers, click, and I go, oh my God, I just clipped it out of the
Yeah.
bunker. The sand flew up after the ball and off it went. It's like, oh, great. Left myself like a 20-foot putt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I use a 54, but I've got to be it's got to be a longer bunker shot. The 58 or 60, pretty much every one of those, I'm just kind of opening it up. I I rarely hit one with a square face out of a
Mhm.
green side bunker. Um, but once I get, I don't know, 30 yards off, I automatically go to the 56
Yeah.
and use that, just kind of square it up and chip it out of there more or less. I mean, it's still a sand shot, but you just getting a little sand first and hitting the ball out of there. That's about the only time I ever switch up.
Yeah. I get it.
I mean, unless it's, unless I'm in a really big bunker and I need to, kind of fly it up farther, then I might go,
Yeah.
I could be talked into a 54 in that spot. But what's your method of, or what's your weapon of choice, in that 10 yards, 20 yards off the green? Are you always 58 or are you always 54?
Depending if I want it to roll and release or if I want to just have it like drop out of the sky.
Right.
Then I'll use either one. I mean, this weekend I used a 9 iron, from like 10, 15, because I could just pretty much take a putting stroke with it and roll it all the way up.
I know that's it's kind of a lost shot, isn't it?
Yeah.
You don't see it too much, even if you're, man, I don't know, even if you're 50 yards off the green, a little 9 iron chip is generally money because it's going to generate some spin. You're going to get a one hop and roll out. And actually, it might be easier to hit that shot with that than it is with a lot of your wedges.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's trying to do those low zippy spinners. And how often or not are you going to hit it a little fat or a little thin and then cost yourself a whole nother chip versus just taking a 9 iron or whatever, 8 iron or even a pitch, even just having a full pitching wedge, just that little thicker sole just
Yeah.
helps come out a little better.
Yeah, I think those are really shots people that don't use a lot anymore that get low. I mean, I know you always hear people on the European side use that shot a lot because they do a lot of run ups, but even if you don't want to run one up here, and I hope maybe everybody that's listening will run out and try it, but you use an 8, 9 iron, 7 iron sometimes. 6 iron's money if you're just putting stroke and you're just off the green.
Yeah.
6 iron's really good for that, but you use that 9, 8, and 7, in various yardages out, man, you'll be surprised at how much you land that. It'll check and roll right up to the hole.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty consistent. A lot easier to rinse and repeat too than I think it would be for a wedge.
Yeah, and I'm of the belief though with the wedges, it turns out that it's so mental. It's one of those things like you hit or you do two great practice swings. You look where you're hitting the earth. You got the ball in the right spot, and you go to hit that thing. And I think, like I do, a lot of times I want to watch it. And as soon as I lift
Yeah.
my head up, that shot's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of it is mental and keep your eye on the ball, hit the shot, and move on. But sometimes you watch your buddies because sometimes the practice swing looks so sweet and effortless, and that
Yep.
is nothing like what the next swing on the ball is going to look like.
Happens to me all the time.
It's 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 crazy. It's like if you hit a bad drive and you walk over and you take some practice swing with the driver and they're just so smooth, and you're like, I don't know why I just can't do that. Well, that's because there's no ball there.
Yeah.
There's no, you got, you're not trying to hit anything now. What else you got, John? You got anything else that you found um, valuable before you? Let's do this. What have you found that works best for you pre-round for the body for a warm up before you hit that first tee? What are some things that
Yeah.
John does?
Just some simple stretches, touch my toes, rotate my hips, and my shoulders. Getting a decent meal before a golf normally helps. Um, That's probably about it, really. That's all I do is I know when I eat a full breakfast before I go out, I normally play better. I don't get as fatigued on the course. Hydrated, obviously, will helps out big time, and then just some simple stretches, And I'll grab two clubs and swing two clubs just to get that extra weight and loosen up a little quicker.
Now, do you follow that same thing when you go, like, say, down to the sim or down to the range, or do you
Yeah,
follow that same setup?
pretty much every single time I'll do the stretches.
Now, this is going to be new news for me, but how many times do you actually go to the physical range?
I don't go to the range unless I'm playing golf.
Gotcha. That's what I thought. I was just
Yeah,
asking. I didn't know if you did. I didn't know if you had a thing where you might go, sometimes on Wednesdays I'll go over there and I'll
yeah.
do a session of wedge, iron, driver, and
No,
then go over and hit some bunker shots or hits.
no, none of that.
Sweet. Same thing. Now do you go down and do practice down in the simulator, or is that only in the winter?
Yeah. On weeks now that summertime, only for like I went before the member guest at Hillview. I went down to the range a couple times, and then or down to the sim, and then I also got a lesson before the member guest as well, which is on a regular range. But right now during summer, I'm not going down there to practice. It's all play mode right now. But
Hmm.
on the gas and let's play as much golf as I can possibly get out play.
Yeah, no, I get it. I just trying to see if there was anything else that I hadn't thought
Yeah.
of that we were missing. But generally, um, I know me and John both know we kind of go and we'll hit. I don't know. I'd say max is probably 20 balls. That might be pushing it. Um, maybe wedge, iron, driver, and then try to head to the tee and pray to God we don't hit any good ones on the range because then we know we should
Yep.
just get back in the car and go home.
Yeah, I would say that's probably about the right number, somewhere between 5 to 7 balls with a couple of clubs.
Yeah.
Typically warm up. I get too tired if I'm out there hitting more than that, really, you know, before a round at least. I don't mind if I'm actually just practicing hitting 40, 50 shots, but before a round, I mean, 10 to 20 max.
Yeah, that's kind of been my new methodology is kind of I'll go out there and I'll get maybe 20 balls.
Yep.
Um, I'll take that back. I might hit 25. I'll go up and I'll hit, if I hit one warm up ball and everything feels
Yep.
reasonably good, then I'll move into my 20 and I'll just hit, gap wedge. And
Yeah.
I'll move up to like 9 iron, and then I'll go to 6 iron, 4 iron, and then I'll just, hit some drivers, just see where the game's at and kind of warm up. Now today at Broadmoor, they got a pretty sweet little short game
Short
area.
game
So I went
area.
over there
Yeah.
and hit some wedges onto the green, hit like five of those, and then went up to the putting green and off I went after that. But
Yeah. Yeah. I don't even hit driver at the range unless I'm like practicing with intent, right? If I'm just warming up before a round, I don't hit the driver maybe once, but typically it's just a pitching wedge and a 7 iron.
yeah, I mean, I'll either hit the driver, or I'll hit like the 5 wood or something like that just to get used to the longer club.
Yeah.
Um, but I've really been trying to work on ball position and all that stuff and get all that grooved in because
Oh, yeah.
it gets away from you if you
Yep.
don't if
For
you don't
sure.
kind of take a few minutes every once in a while and just go, okay, everything's still where it needs
Yeah.
to be.
Yep. Yeah, my thing was always if I can't hit the center of the face with a pitching wedge, I don't need to go up any higher clubs. There's no point. So, but yeah, typically it's 7 or 8 balls with a pitching wedge and 7 or 8 with a 7 iron and maybe one drive, and then it's just going straight to the tee.
Yeah, and I think that's a good way to do it. What do you do, or do you do anything different after you go see Mr. Jeremy Allen at Jeremy Allen Golf? Everybody should go check him out. What do you do to work on what he's trying to teach you? And you can frame this in off season or on season, however you'd
Yeah.
like, or both probably be the best. But what do you do to keep that to work on what he wants you to work on?
Well, I mean, I have to feel like a three-quarter backswing. That's what I have to feel. And then I have to make sure I fire my hips all the way open. Those are the two things that we work on every time. Because when I start hitting the ball bad, it's because I'm swaying and over swinging. So literally,
Yeah,
I mean, like this winter, I was hitting the range indoors once to twice a week, and I was seeing him every 4 to 6 weeks,
right.
you know, and I came out flushing the golf ball, right? And now it's starting to decline a little bit. So I'll need him to go tell me, John, you're over swinging. No, I'm not. Well, here's the video. Oh, okay. Yep, you're right again. Rinse and repeat, dude. It's probably one of the most consistent swingers, bad swings, over swinging of the golf ball than anybody. I mean, you could put a wear mark right where I hit it when I start over swinging.
Well, I think that's good information is that, you know, you're going to get lessons, you're going down and practicing a couple times a week, and this is off
Yep.
season. Um, and you were how many times you said once every 4 to 6 weeks you were going to
Yeah,
swing,
it
you
just
think?
kind of depending on holiday schedules this winter. Longer obviously through Thanksgiving and Christmas, but then, you know, January, February is about every 4 weeks.
No, I think that's about right. Once every 4 to 6 weeks is pretty good because that gives you time in between there to
Yeah.
work on it, come back, say, okay, how's this? All right, well, we need to do a little bit more of this, and you
Yeah.
know, I think that's the way everybody should do it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people out there that think, oh, it's too expensive. You can get in a lot of group classes
Yep.
and in a group atmosphere and cost you a little less money. But in the long run, it's nice to have an instructor and somebody you can count on. Maybe and John will tell you he can shoot Jeremy a text message and say, "Hey, man, I got this going on. Can you give me any ideas on what I might be able to do to correct it? Here's a quick video of my swing." And then Jeremy will come back and go, "Yeah, you need to. Here's what you're doing. This is what
Yeah.
we've worked on. You just need to do that." And he'll answer that. I mean,
Yep.
once you build up a solid rapport with your instructor,
Yep.
you can get that kind of information. Or, hey, I'm thinking about whatever, buying a new driver, blah blah blah. There's a lot of
Yeah.
information that they'll give you and
Well,
help you out
they
on.
track and store all that shit on TrackMan anyway for you. Share your lesson, where your shot pattern was, your videos, all that stuff. So you can pull it up from the TrackMan app,
Right.
which is nice.
Yeah, I think I think that's great information. Now, what do you do, John, when you're on the course? You've been working on these things with Jeremy, and you're maybe you're changing a little bit of a position, and it's doesn't feels kind of like a stranger. What do you do to work through that, or do you immediately revert back to John 2.1 instead
Yeah.
of
If it's
doing
just a
John
fun
3?
round of golf, I'll just battle through it and just trust the process. If I'm playing for something, then it's going back to
Yeah.
how I know I can get the ball closest to the hole.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think everybody that will do that for, to a certain extent. Um, I know I've talked with a lot of teachers, and I talked about this recently on the episode with Bob Kitchen, but I have yet to meet an instructor that has not told me that he's had somebody come in and after they've worked for a couple weeks on something, and he'll look at the guy when he takes a swing, he goes, "What's that from?" And they'll go, "Well, I watched this video on YouTube."
Yeah.
So I started doing that instead of doing what you've been working on.
Yeah.
And I think that's the hardest part. You got to stay committed to it. Like you said, you have to trust the process because it is going to feel weird. Every teacher will tell you, hey, you're going to struggle for a little bit till we get this down, and then you're going to see the fruits of our labors. But it's funny how quickly we'll take a simple thing that you saw off YouTube or off a reel and go out to a driving range and try it and run
Yeah.
with it instead of just running with what you're paying somebody to teach you to
Yeah.
do.
For sure.
Golf's a crazy game.
Uh,
It's there's four
yeah.
letters for a reason. Um, it can be as rewarding and as frustrating. every day at the same time, and sometimes
Yeah.
more than once in a round.
Yeah. That's facts.
So what else you got, John? Anything that you can think of that might be beneficial or even if it's a training aid or a process that you can think of that might help somebody advance in a certain area of their game?
No. Go pound balls, practice with intent, get a lesson every once in a while. And that's it. I mean, just gotta keep it simple.
Yeah, I believe that, but I know there's a lot of people out there that like a setup, a plan, if you will, a program.
Yeah. And for those people, do some online research and figure out how the tour pros practice or how do the college kids practice. They're out there doing it 4 to 6 hours a day, 3 or 4 times a week. They go through a whole routine. They'll do golf games or, range games with each other. Like, hey, you got to hit 10 out of, however many in a row onto in this spot. You got to
Right.
do 10 over here before you can move on. So there's a lot of things like that you can do. I just don't, one, I don't want to spend that time on it. And two, I don't enjoy practicing like that. So probably not the best person to.
Yeah, no, I think I'm totally with you. That's why I'm asking you. I know who you are. I know what you like to do. I knew what your answers would be. I'm
Yeah.
just asking them for everybody else. Um, and I'm with you. Most of the time, I don't enjoy going to the range. Um, Now, that being said, if I'm working on something,
Yep.
I think it's beneficial. I think that I will go and I'll spend probably an hour total. Like if I go over here to the
Yep.
Smock, which isn't far from me, and they got a good practice area, I'll go out there and I'll hit maybe a medium bucket of balls, and I'll go over and I'll do a lot of chipping. I don't do too much putting over there, um, but I might do some chips and finish out, chip, finish
Yeah. I
out.
don't think I could spend more, even my lessons, max 45 minutes, you know?
Well, and I mean, that's probably the length of time I'm there. You got to think you got to go in, get the ball. I'm talking
Yeah.
about
Yep.
pulling in the parking lot to leaving. I'm
In the
there
parking
probably an
lot. Yeah.
hour total.
Yeah. I'd say 45 minutes an hour is probably close, and it's good when you don't get too bored with that. Even
Yeah,
if you, like you said, a decent amount of range balls and then go chip for 10 minutes because chipping always feels like it's taking a lot longer than what it actually is.
yeah, I agree with
So,
that. Yeah, I think that there are people who like to practice. There are people who like to go
yeah.
hit a ton of balls, and that's great. If that's some kind of a stress relief or just some kind of a
Yeah.
mind numbing experience where you can just go out there, be relaxed, stay off your phone, hit some balls. Um, But I think when you're working with somebody, I think it's highly beneficial that you should be practicing and should be working on it because one, you're paying for their time to teach you something to help you and you want to work on that or you're just going to keep paying for nothing because you're not doing anything
Yeah.
to
I mean,
set
it's
set
almost
it.
embarrassing if you don't practice, at least for me, because I've done it to Jeremy. He's like, "Oh, I know you didn't work on this, because we just went over this, because he notices it, right?" And that's like, well, that's kind of a challenge for me too. And then he knows when I am working on it and I'm still having some troubles because then I'm texting him, man, I
Right.
just keep find the center of the face, I'm doing this, this, and this, right? Slow it down, 3 quarterback, fire the hips through. Oh, okay, right. And then it works. But yeah, it sucks. I mean, like when I was a kid growing up, I had to pick either choir or band. So I picked band, but I didn't want to practice. And it's like, Dad's like, I'm gonna stop getting you lessons if I haven't seen you practice at all this week. Yep, I haven't, right? So got to do the work.
Yeah, but I think it's personally for yourself, it's rewarding when you walk in there and Jeremy noticed. He goes, "Oh, you've been working on this." You're like, "That's
Yep,
right, I have been working on it.
yep,
I want to get this somewhere. I want to play good golf. I want to strike it properly. I want to do all these things." So I think that's always nice when your coach is like, "Oh man, that looks so much better. I can tell you've been working hard."
yeah, yeah. I mean, for me, I don't want to get to scratch. I don't want to put the time in that it takes to get to scratch. Now, if I got to scratch naturally, that'd be one thing. Um, but I just want to, I just want to compress the golf ball, and I want to stay. I don't care if I'm a 2 or a 10, somewhere in there. I'm happy. Now, when it starts, the 85 start coming on the card, and I'm like, all right, Jeremy, it's time to get serious about this again. We got to get this back down, right? But that's for me. It's just I want to feel like I can hit some solid shots. I don't care where they really end up. Greenish, short, little long, little left, little right. I'm okay with, and I just want to still be at a single digit handicap and go out there be able to make some money on some days and have some fun.
Yeah, the guys were kind of looked at me sideways today when I hit one and I was like, oh man. They go, oh, you're good. You're good. It's over there. It didn't go out of bounds. I go, I'd rather hit a good one out of bounds than a bad one in bounds.
Yeah,
I realize it's a tournament, but when I've been out trying to work on I've been struggling off the tee. So I'll go to the range and I'll hit some balls and man, I'll just have some days where it's money and then days
yep,
where it comes back. And it's the same thing you said. It's always going back to swaying,
yep,
swaying and over swaying and over swinging, not putting your weight on your trail side and then getting to your lead side. There's so many nuances to golf that um, most people don't understand because they don't play golf. Um, but those nuances are also mysterious to the people, some people that play golf. They're just getting in there and they can't understand
yeah,
why nothing's working. And people run away from golf because they're like, oh my God, it's so frustrating. But if they knew the way,
yep,
your body's got to work and how to swing, if they went and got a lesson, they probably wouldn't feel that way.
yeah. It's just, I mean, golf's just ridiculously hard.
So obviously, I know the answer to this, and I'll kind of answer it for you. The only way that you really look at whether or not you're seeing the fruits of your labor is just via score.
I wouldn't even say score. I mean, I would say just center of the face, compressing the golf ball. You know,
Okay. So you're okay. I thought you'd be the other way a little
as
bit.
long as I'm like sub 82, you know, and I'm compressing the golf ball, I'm happy.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, I think that covers what,
Yeah.
how we should, that you can level up your golf game, what you need to do. And unfortunately, to most of you, it's all about the work that you want to put in. It's all about going out, getting a coach, getting some lessons, working on that, and playing. Even necessarily, do you have to go to the range? And no, you could go on the course. You could go play 9 holes and work on the things that you're working on. Sometimes, if you got the time on the course, that's always the best place for me to do. Is I like to work on it on the course because it does get a little redundant just standing out there beating balls on the range
Yeah.
and not really. I mean, you see where the ball's going, but there's no definitive number in front of you when you're like, you shoot a pin and it's 157 and you hit 9 iron or
Yep.
whatever. And that's what that pin's at. That's where the ball's at. That's what you landed at. So you know that your yardages are there. Um, but yeah, I think that covered it, John. I think that
Yep.
that was a great explanation from somebody that likes to keep it simple, stupid, that doesn't like to have a whole lot of things going on in their mind. But if you really paid attention there, he still works on all the fundamentals. He still works on it, his posture and his grip and his alignment, where his ball position is. He still works on all that. He just may not work on it as much as you or as much as I or as much as the other guy, but it still, those are the things you work on, right?
Yep. It is what it is.
Well, all right, John, it's another one in the books. We're just moving and grooving. Hopefully, we can
Yeah.
get some more listeners, some more people coming on.
Yeah.
We do got a
Get a
episode.
big match coming up.
Yep, we got our big match coming up. We have a episode we'll be releasing soon with EA Carts. I hope everybody watches that. If you're not familiar with EA Carts, you ought to get online
Pretty
and
badass.
check them out. They're pretty awesome. Maybe if you see him and you're a member of a private club, go, hey man, what's the opportunity for us to get something with these EA cards?
Yeah.
But John, as always, I appreciate it, and I can't look forward to our next
Yeah.
conversation, bud.
Yeah. Let's get after it.
All right, man. Have a good one.